All right, welcome back, Patriots and other people. And hey, welcome to the channel. My name is Dave, and I'm politically homeless. I don't know about James Roguski if he's politically homeless, but he's back with us, and he's got, I don't want to say it's breaking news, but something's going on, and he's not telling me. So I think you ought to stay tuned. James, what's going on?
Well, a real simple thing. If anybody out there is paying attention to anything, they should be enraged. Are there any things that you're enraged about, Dave?
Well, I wasn't too happy about hearing this morning about maybe we're going to have a new version of the Patriot Act, because apparently they've they found that there are people coming into the country, James, and some of those people might not be, of the highest caliber. But well, I'll just throw that back to you, and you could
Uh,
do whatever.
so obviously, I've been paying close attention to the WHO,
Right.
and I have a smile on my face because I'm talking to you, and we're friends. We're having a good time. But man, everybody should be just enraged about the just bullshit that's going on with the WHO. A couple of days ago, they published a newer version, because there will be another one and maybe even another one. Um, and they have failed. At this point in time, the failure is obvious. They missed their deadline with the amendments back in January, and they just said, screw the rules. Article 55, they're supposed to give 4 months notice. And so they had meetings in February, they had meetings in March. They're having meetings for the amendments next week. Now, let's keep this straight. Next week, they're having meetings for the amendments. It's a different set of negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
So the other day, they drop a new version of the treaty. Look over here, but look at what we're doing over here. They don't want anybody to know about the amendments. So, yes, I'm enraged about the ridiculousness of the treaty. That's what we're going to talk about today. But I want to start out by saying that's a decoy, because next week they're doing something else, right?
Right.
That's how they get you. The treaty has been, going on for 2 years. They got, version after version after version after version. And so I want to actually add something to miss, dis, and mel information,
Okay. Go right ahead.
old information. It's
Ah,
probably more dangerous,
yeah.
because that's what's been going on in the alternative media community in regards especially to the amendments, but also to the treaty. The information that everybody's talking about is a year and a half old.
Right.
And these are negotiations. Things change. And
Mm-hmm.
the analogy I've been using, maybe I talked to you about this. You watch your dog chase a squirrel up the tree, and he's barking up the tree, but then the squirrel runs across the treetops and is long gone. And the dog still thinks that he's barking up the right tree, but it's now the wrong tree. So, a lot of things have been said about old information, and people are seemingly unwilling or unable to look at the new stuff and go, oh, wait a minute. Holy crap. Get the rug pulled out from underneath you. Now they drop a new document. Well, keep up to date. So next week, April 22nd to the 26th, depends on when people watch this video. April 22nd to the 26th is supposed to be the final negotiating session for the amendments. We shall see when they get around to letting us know what the heck it is they decided about that. With the treaty, it's just really interesting. You go back a year, more than a year, actually. On April 3rd of 2023, our wonderful ambassador, Pamela Hamamoto, and I think off the top of my head, you could go pamela.hamamoto@hhs.gov and send her an email. Check out one of my articles. You can double check that for sure. She agreed with the Chinese delegate who had proposed that the negotiations should be kept secret in regards to whatever each nation submitted for the treaty. It shouldn't be attributed to any specific nation. They didn't want to know who was recommending what. Okay.
Wow.
And so
Yeah.
way back on April 3rd, I believe it was, 2023, they said, no, 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 keep it all hush. And then they said to all of the nations, okay, submit whatever text you want to have in the treaty. And it ended up being a 208-page compilation text, which they never published. Okay. I got a hold of it a couple of months ago. I published it, but it was kind of old news by then. But they had 208 pages of text. And what they did in June of last year is they scrunched that down to 43 pages. And most of the nations were like, what the hell? We told you we wanted this, we wanted that. 208 pages. That would have been a pretty good place to start and then whittle it down, in the negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bureau rewrote it and presented it. And all summer long, everybody's going, wait a minute, this doesn't have in it what we want. Okay. They did the same thing in October. They did the same thing in March, all this sort of thing. They whittled it down. It was 43 pages, then it was 29 pages. And at their last meeting, all of the nations got an opportunity again to say what they wanted. And it went from 29 pages to 110 pages. All right.
Man. Okay.
You can only fit, 5 pounds of crap in a 5-pound bag, but they got, 100 pounds that they're trying to wedge in.
Yeah.
And so in March, they had a 29-page document. It ballooned up to 110, and then they were directed to go do another rewrite. Well, it ended up being 20 pages. And what they did is they wiped out a couple of articles and merged them in. They did a really good job of hiding some stuff in really the wrong category. You read the header and you're like, what the hell is this doing here? But mostly what I'm enraged about, even though it's amazingly entertaining, it's also really messed up. In many of the articles, they said, well, we'll give you the details May 31st, 2026.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's going to be helpful.
So it's very much, and I've been saying this for, I don't know how long, months for sure, maybe even more than a year. A framework convention is designed to be like if you were signing a contract with somebody and at the last minute, they bring in a ream of paper and wedge it into the contract, bind it all together, and go, don't worry about those blank sheets of paper. We'll have our people fill those in later. Just sign on the dotted line
Mm-hmm.
and agree to something.
Yeah.
Okay, just so that you can agree, pat yourself on the back. Hey, we're saving the world. No more pandemics because we wrote a document that binds you, in international law. And legally binding in international law doesn't mean what legally binding means in most people's head. It's essentially saying, look, if you guys all get together and agree to a certain set of rules, you all keep yourself, in line with that business agreement. And, if this was a bunch of mafia crime bosses getting around the table with the Godfather, right?
Yeah.
You know the rules, and if you want a piece of the pie, you're going to do what you're supposed to do.
Right. Right.
And so what they're at the moment presenting is, well, all of those difficult things that we've been negotiating, let's just put those off and say we'll have that worked out later. We'll get back to you in 2026. And let's just agree to be bound on an international legally binding, sense
Mm-hmm.
to whatever the heck it is some people decide in the future.
Oh,
That's really an admission of failure.
yeah.
They're rushing these negotiations. They've failed to work out the details. And so they're going to try maybe to pretend that, oh, we've reached an agreement that we haven't been able to work out the details. So, we'll get back to you in a couple of years. How about, you stop the negotiations, but if you really wanted to do this, well, keep negotiating, work out the details. Let us see what the heck it is you're doing. Well, there's a problem with that. They don't want us to see what they're doing because what they're doing is cray cray, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing is what got us into the problem. They're negotiating a trade agreement where billions of dollars would go to looking for pathogens to bring them into a World Health Organization coordinated laboratory network because you need a Wuhan Institute of Virology on every street corner, like 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
then when you find a deadly pathogen and you hand it over to the central biohub so that the pharmaceutical companies can turn it into a profitable product, the pathogen access comes with benefit sharing. And that's still the sticking point in here. When South Africa and Botswana handed over the details about Omicron, Pfizer and Moderna put that into the booster, made a couple of $1 billion. And some of the amendments that the African nations presented in my own, version of English, they're like, hey, we're not giving you any more pathogens unless you share the money with us. We need benefit sharing to go
Yeah.
hand in hand with pathogen access. Well, forget the gold rush, forget drilling for oil and natural gas.
Mm.
Uh, the most profitable natural sovereign resource are the genetic sequences of pathogens with pandemic profiteering potential.
Yeah. That's
And that's what they're doing. They're trying to set up an organized crime syndicate to scare the crap out of people because they're looking for trouble. And that's the Hegelian dialectic. Find a problem, create a problem, show up with the solution, get paid for it. But unfortunately, and this is really the core, if people get nothing else out of this video, the core is, why do these nations want more jabs and the ability to manufacture them? Oh, because if they're manufacturing them in their home country, then they can turn a profit when their government or some other fund pays the pharmaceutical company to inflict a bioweapon upon their own people. They missed out on the jabs because they didn't have enough money to buy them, and all of the rich nations bought up more than they needed, but they also missed out on the profit.
right.
And that's what we're really dealing with here. It's, we've done a couple of shows about this. It's just a mafia organization, mafia type organization, organized crime syndicate to profiteer off the next pandemic, not to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listening to this, it's very disheartening, I guess, because a lot of us are very concerned and we want to do something. What can we do, James? Say I'm just a guy who listens to this, watches this video, and says, "Okay, all right, great information." We get a lot of comments like that. Great information, guys. What do we do next? What can we do?
Well, see, I don't take it that way. I'm not disheartened because their failure, their stupidity, the absolutely ridiculously stupid nature of these negotiations, right? On one level, it's enraging, but on another level, you look at it and you go, I don't think you guys could get this script, get a green light on it in Hollywood. It's too ridiculous,
Yeah.
right? What they learned from the last 4.5 years is that the business of pandemics is very profitable. Okay. And so the simple answer to your question, what do we do, is take this video and share the daylights out of it, because most people have been misinformed by old information. Okay. This treaty is not about national sovereignty. It's not about Tedros being your doctor. It's not about mandates, mask mandates, vaccine mandates. No, 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 no. This particular document is not what most people think it is. And as long as people are thinking it's that, and they're talking about this, it gets a little bit harder to talk about what's going on with anybody because it's old information. And so, what this purported proposed pandemic agreement, pandemic treaty, framework convention, what it is essentially a trade agreement, very much like the Trans-Pacific Partnership from a decade ago, in the sense that they want to organize the world's financial resources to direct those monies to themselves. No,
Yeah.
the answer is no. Having more biological laboratories all around the world and looking for pathogens to bring into those labs to sequence them and manipulate them in order to make jabs that don't stop infection, don't stop transmission, derange your immune system and cause disease, disability, death, both excess and sudden, or more diagnostics that tell people when they have an asymptomatic disease. Um, you, you have to look at that. And if you're talking to someone who still believes that the jabs are wonderful and they can't wait to get their next one, because you're supposed to get one every 3 months.
Yeah.
And if they feel that being uh, attacked by having something stuck up their nose into their brain is a way to determine whether or not they're sick, if people still believe that, bless them on their way, wish them, that they have a wonderful rest of their life, and move on. If you share this video with someone and they're outraged at what the heck is this WHO trying to do, taking money from rich nations to give to wealthy people in poor nations to make more money by manufacturing biological weapons to inject the black and brown people that they missed the first time, if that outrages you, spread the word and get clear on the information. This is not what people have been saying it is. It's horrible in a different way, but get clear on what it is. And they've made it easier. It's not a 208-page document, it's a 20-page document.
There you
So
go. Yeah.
when you read it, you'll see a lot of language that sounds lovely because they have wedged a handful of things into the document that sound pretty okay. But what I would encourage you to do, Dave, is include the link in the description down below to the Godfather video that we did probably a month ago now, right?
Yeah.
People need to watch that. Did pretty well. But watch that video where we read from the previous version of what's in here. And if you get past the propaganda that they insert in the document, I mean, there is some language in there that is acceptable, but when you look at it, the poison pill that's in here literally is about a poison pill. They
Yeah.
want more drugs, they want more jabs. So get clear on what this proposed pandemic treaty is. And just like we did with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, when enough people are aware and screaming and ranting and raving about, no, this is stupid. We're not accepting this. This will not happen. This will not happen, period. And you certainly don't get to sign an empty document, to be determined later. Maybe this just came to my head. Maybe it's not a good analogy, right? But in terms of what's going on with here, they haven't figured out the money yet. So currently, the pandemic treaty,
Yeah.
batteries not included,
Right.
right? Don't buy into this idea that looking for pathogens to bring into a laboratory to turn over to drug companies so that they can share the profits with the people who are looking for the pathogens. Seriously, you're incentivizing the search for deadly pathogens that aren't necessarily doing anybody any harm, but if you bring them into a lab and you make them a little bit more deadly, that can be turned into money. This is insanity. This is biological warfare, research, development, and distribution. Stop it.
Yeah.
And so a lot of information about that is on thepeoplesdeclaration.com,
Yeah.
thepeoplesdeclaration.com. But I don't know how many, over a couple of hundred articles I've written about this over the past couple of years. Just go to jamesroguski.substack.com or give me a phone call, 310-619-3055. If people go to exitthewho.org, that is a worldwide activist toolbox. There's an endless list of things that you can do there. And if you have another idea for more things to do, just give me a call and we'll add it to the list. It really comes down to, number one, get clear on what the heck is going on here. Don't look at old information. It's almost more dangerous than mis, dis, and malinformation. Because if you had a favorite sports team, Dave, baseball, football, basketball, soccer, hockey, whatever.
Yeah.
If you talked about where their rankings were in the standings a year ago, 6 months ago, right? And they were lousy. They were in last place. But now they figured it out and they're doing really well. And now they're in first place. Well, you could have said they were in last place and it would have been true. You could say that they're currently in first place. That would be true. But if you don't take into effect the thing that, things change over time, um, if you keep saying they're in last place when things have changed, that's wrong.
Right.
And so, unfortunately, the WHO is really good at messing with everybody's head. And, who knows what the documents are going to say tomorrow and who knows what they're going to say the next day. But currently, with what we have at the moment, next week, they're going to be negotiating the amendments. That should be their last meeting. And that week would be April 22nd to the 26th. So we shall see whenever they may allow us to see what the final version is. And then from April 29th to May 10th, they're going to be negotiating the pandemic agreement, which is currently a 20-page document that says, we'll talk to you in 2 years. No, no.
Right.
You don't get to sign a blank contract because you failed to work out the details. And then you just go, we'll figure this out later. Totally unacceptable. Treaty's not going to happen. And the amendments already missed their deadline of January 27th. So those should not even be considered. We, the people, need to speak up. And one last thing, everybody has a phone. Everybody has a camera. Everybody has the capability to be the media. So turn your camera on yourself, get your information straight, and voice your opinion. There should be millions of videos about this where everybody says, hey, take out your phone, right? And just put it down on whatever document you're looking at, take a section of it so that you're not presenting misinformation, you're presenting actual information, and then comment on it and put your video out there. Put it on TikTok, maybe, put it on Telegram, put it on, Twitter or Instagram or YouTube or Rumble or BitChute or whatever. The internet should be flooded with people expressing their opinion about these negotiations. Now, if you like what they're doing, go ahead and say that you like what they're doing. If you do sarcasm, right, make sure you put hashtag sarcasm,
Right.
because people will believe you whatever you say. And so have fun with it. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But speak up.
Sure.
Speak up, everybody.
Yeah. 100%. Well,
so you can go to screwthewho.com.
Screw the Who.
And see what hundreds of other people have already done, and show us what you got. Tell the world what your opinion of these negotiations are.
Yeah, the more voices, the better, and the more informed we are. And it's good that we have updated information. You made a good point that there's a lot of old information out there, even on alternative media sites. I've noticed that there is a lot of stuff that needs to be updated. So maybe people go around and say, "Hey, James Roguski, I just watched him, and he said that we need to kind of update your file here a little bit." So I think that's very important. James, as always, sir, thank you for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Dave.